Hey guys, so this is my back workout done at Ultimate Exercise on a Sunday. Thanks to my daughter for shooting the video and doing some edits to make this a little bit more bearable for you, the viewer. As you can see, I'm starting out on the Super Slow Systems pull down. I decided to use the box handle today because I wanted to try out the Versa grips. I'm also selecting a little heavier weight than I normally do. I'm trying to fail within 2 to 4 repetitions, as I'm finding that helps with my recovery a little bit better. You can see here I'm trying to maintain stoicism and good form, but the more rapid rate of fatigue is a little bit bewildering. But I'll let y'all watch the final repetitions here. And this one, I believe, barely makes. You can kind of see a little bit of panic and a little too much lean there, but it does complete. And at this point, it's clear to me that the next one's not going to make, but I am going to attempt it. So that successfully concluded in 4 repetitions. Next up, I do calf exercise on the Super Slow Systems leg press. I inserted this between pull down and compound row just to give my grip and my back a little bit of recovery between those two movements. As you can see here, I'm actually wearing fairly thick-soled on-cloud tennis shoes. The reason for that is the edge of the foot plate is a very squared off and sharp surface, as opposed to an actual calf press machine like the Hammer Strength that actually has a wider foot plate that articulates around the ankle. This actually puts quite a bit of pressure on the metatarsal heads, and I found that I can actually use the padding and the groove between the knobs there as sort of a pivot point for doing calf press on this machine. Normally, I select a weight that allows me to do about 8 repetitions, and this is because I'm pretty strong in this movement, and the amount of weight I use to do fewer repetitions really puts a strain on my metatarsals. I did go up in resistance here so that the number of reps ended up being around 6. And that's kind of the outer limits for the weight that I can comfortably use that doesn't hurt the metatarsal bones in my feet. But this worked fairly well, and I'll just let this complete. You can see that I'm about to lose range of motion here. Right leg's popping up a little before the left. And then I think this one will make it done. So next up in the rotation is the Med-X compound row, but if you look towards the top of the machine there, you'll see that it has super slow retrofits. So the first is there's a piece of angle iron that's actually bolted onto the movement arms to make that a fused movement arm rather than an independent movement arm. And then above it, you'll see some Kevlar belt that's running to a cam that's actually about a 12-to-1 fall-off cam. So when your arms are fully extended, this loads up very heavy and it falls off pretty quickly. But when you use the proper slow cadence, what you'll find is by about the second repetition, every inch of this thing feels like you're on the verge of failure, but then the resistance bleeds off just enough for it to keep moving. So literally it feels like you're going to fail every millimeter of the positive, but it just happens to bleed off just in time to allow you to keep moving. Now on the negative, it's a different experience. What starts out feeling manageable on the negative that 12-to-1 in reverse ratio really loads up heavy, and on second, third, fourth repetition, it's very hard to stop a runaway negative. And next up, I moved to the Nautilus pullover with Super Slow Systems retrofits. Here, I selected a little bit high on the weight. I think my form did okay, but I only got 2 repetitions and part of a third, so this only counted as 2 repetitions. And the accumulated fatigue from the prior movements just knocked me out of this really, really quickly. So you'll see I'll complete the second repetition with some struggle. I really intended to make a third. But what you'll see here is it makes it maybe about 2/3 of the way through, and then it's toast. Done. And next we're heading on to the Super Slow Systems neck extension. And this has the alligator cam on it so you can get the right amount of fall off. What you'll notice here is that when I reach full extension, I'm not just extending my neck, but I'm actually extending my whole back. So I'm actually trying to touch the back of my head to my buttock. And the reason for this is that the muscles that extend the neck actually go outside of the neck itself. The muscles that extend the neck actually run all the way down to the tailbone. Now, when you're doing neck flexion, all of the muscles that flex the neck are intrinsic to the neck. So when you're doing neck flexion, you keep your chest high and there's no movement of the torso whatsoever. But since the muscles that extend the neck are extrinsic to the neck, you actually get the best contraction of those muscles by actually extending your entire spine, trying to bring the occiput of your head to the sacrum of your lower back and tailbone by really arching hard. And you can see we're about to bite it here. There may be one more rep, but I think this is starting to look like it's really getting to the end. And that is that. And next up, I use the Generation 1 Super Slow Systems pull down. This has no cam, but I used it for my lumbar extension exercise. And the reason for that is simply that the folks that were with me in the studio really don't know how to load me into the Med-X Medical lumbar. So when I'm doing this movement, at the very start of the movement, I'm keeping a fairly sharp arch in my lower back. And then while maintaining that sharp arch, I'm extending my entire torso. And when I get into full extension, I try to exaggerate that arch to really get down into the deep lumbar extensors. This really doesn't look like much. In fact, it looks kind of silly, but I'll tell you, by this point in the workout, I am really gassed. I'm feeling this pretty badly. Another interesting note, if you zoom in to look at the back of my t-shirt, it's one of my favorites. Greg Anderson gave it to me. It's got the Nautilus logo on the front, and on the back it's got the original patent drawings in 1971 of the first Nautilus pullover machine. This is one of my favorite workout shirts. But you come to the end of my workout.